Good afternoon, everybody. How are we all? Hello, Karen, you were very early. And Kathy and Bonnie. Well, the window's open, Bonnie, but I'm not sure I hear many birds because it's absolutely raining a lot, for want of a better phrase. So they all seem to go and hibernate when it's raining. So sorry, no birds. You might hear the odd one. Hi, Hazel. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, Diana. No, I don't recognise that name, so welcome if it's your first time. Saw G. Now that's definitely new. So again, welcome. Near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, welcome, Diana. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl. Hi, Margaret. Yes, Margaret. That was the word I was looking for, persisting. Hi, Sue. Let's have a look who's in the group. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Sarah. Yes, I did notice you've got COVID, Sarah. Sorry to hear that. Hope you don't feel too bad. Hello, Pat. Nice to see you. Hope you're going on okay. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Linda. Hi, Lorraine. Right. So, as you can see, I've just put a little reminder on the screen for this week's pick of the week, which of course is the fabulous magnetic mat. And you're getting 2 magnets with that as well. So they're sort of basically free. And you're also saving about a tenner, just penny under a £10. And I think that is a superb deal. So, you know, if you want the magnetic mat, you haven't got it yet, now is a good time to buy it. Okay. So let me just take that off there. And if I just put up what we're going to be using, I need to make sure I get the right one. That one, I think. Yes. Excellent. I might have to shut the window in a minute, but we'll see how we go because I do like a bit of fresh air. Hi, Jodie. Hi, Karin. Yes, I did notice you'd had snow, Valerie. I hope it's all gone now. And please don't send it this way because I don't want snow up here. Yes, Bonnie. Naughty Miriam. I mean, you know, fabulous Miriam for sharing, but naughty Miriam. Giving all those sneaky peekies. But yes, what amazing stuff have we got to look forward to in the very near future? It's amazing. So yeah, there are some mega popular, by the looks of all the comments, new things coming, but I know that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, you know, as Lisa's always said, 2024 is going to be a cracking year. So let's just quickly run through what I'm going to be using. This is the card I'm making. I found this on Pinterest, and it was a lady called, I think it's Lisa's Stamp Studio. But I saw this and I liked it and I thought, why not? And it only uses a fraction of the Summer Roses layering stencils as well, which I liked because it's a little bit different. So when you open it out, it opens out like that. And I thought when I'd done it, I thought, well, that's nice, and I quite like it, but it's a shame it's not going to stand up. How wrong was I? It will stand up, because if I stand it up like that, look, it stands up. So you can, somebody, if you're going to send it to somebody, they can still actually stand it up on their mantelpiece or their table or their sideboard or whatever they stand their cards on, and they'll still be able to look at that front piece of the card. So it's a win-win. So I'm using this little birthday wishes. It's called Special Wishes, this die set, and I'm pretty certain it came with the wheelbarrow class that Lisa did with the Crafters Home network of stores, you know, the one that we did through Sir Stamp-A-Lot. So I think that was where that one came from. It's a really, really useful little die set. So just the 2 dies in there, but it's dead useful. Obviously I'm using the summer roses, and I was very lucky to get this because I have a friend who is here today who bought it, liked it, but then realised she probably won't ever use it. So I bought it off her. And I absolutely adore this. I think it is so beautiful. And obviously I've only used this bit today on the front of this card. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I did that without getting all those little bits. So I'm using those. I have used the embossing folder, but not on the card. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, can I leave the stencils there in front of me? Now, on the card that I've made here, you can see I've used the vintage off the edge roses. Okay, off the edge vintage roses. And I know that, you know, if you stamp them in black, you've got to colour them or whatever. There were no layering stencils for these. So I thought I could show you a way of using them, adding colour, but not having to colour them in. So I'll show you how I did that, but I'm not using this on today's card. Okay, what I am using, so this is the stamp set it came from, and I used the smaller one of the two, okay, because it takes up less room on the card. But what I'm using today is the budding stem, and I'm just going to stencil a little piece of this onto where I've put those vintage roses on there. I'm just going to stencil a small piece of that onto here instead. Okay, I've done one and I'm going to do one with you. And then on this card, you can see here that I've used the and kisses from the Fabulous fonts. Okay, I haven't used stamp today. I used the Special Wishes die set. Okay, and I've used Birthday Wishes. All right, just to make it look a little bit different. Okay, so, oh, and I've used masking tape. Okay, and that's where the embossing folder comes in. But again, I'll show you that in a second. So, let me go through what you will need. Let me just take that one off there and put that one up. There we go. Right, so we've got, I'm going to move this out of the way for now because I don't need this just yet, because we're going to make the shape of the card first. All right, so you will need a piece of cardstock, 8.5 by 8.5. All right, now I know it on the screen, sort of halfway down, it says 4 pieces of contrasting coloured cardstock. It's actually 5. But I didn't notice that till about 10 minutes ago. So I haven't had a chance to go back and change that 4 to a 5. So where it says 4 pieces of contrasting coloured cardstock, each measuring 4 1/8 square, that should actually be 5. Okay, so there's 5 pieces, 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. And then 4 pieces of white cardstock, 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay, so first things first, let's make the shape of the card before we go any further. Let's pull that little arm out. Hope I can get it on my desk so that you can see it. Okay, so we're going to do some scoring. So like it says on there, your piece of cardstock is 8.5 by 8.5, and you're going to score this at 4 1/4. So halfway across that cardstock. Okay, so we're going to go down there, and then we're going to turn it round, and we're going to score it again at 4 1/4 down the middle. Okay, 4 1/4, and then we're going to turn it on the diagonal, and we're going to score down the diagonal. So if you pop your cardstock in the channel here, you can then manipulate the bottom piece to sit in your channel down here. I don't know whether you can see that. You probably can't see it all at the same time. So put the top piece into the channel and then manipulate the bottom piece. Okay, can you see that? Okay, so that piece isn't going to move because it's between 2 pieces on the platform. If you haven't got this trimmer, then obviously you're just going to need a ruler or a scoreboard, and just make sure that you've got a point on each of the score lines. Okay, so you're just going to score all the way up on there, and again turn it round and score on the other diagonal So put your card in the channel, manipulate the bottom bit and score there as well. Okay, and then the last piece of thing you need to do on here is on one of your 4 1/4 lines, you need to score up from the bottom to the middle and don't go over the middle line, okay, because it will spoil the look of the card. So you need to be really careful and just score to that middle line, okay. So I'm going to pop that down there, make sure it's exactly on the line, like so. And then I'm just going to move that scoring tool and I'm going to just trim up there. Just have a quick look, tiny little bit more, but make sure you don't go over the middle line, okay. So you don't want to go across where those lines diverge. All right, so just to that middle line, okay. So now we can put this away because we don't need this anymore. Right, so then you're just going to fold this, all right, and it's just simple mountain and valley folds, and it's just going to follow it round, okay. So your first one is a mountain, and then a valley, and then a mountain, and then a valley, and then a mountain, and then a valley. And that's about as difficult as it gets, okay. But what I would recommend you do is go back and just burnish all those fold lines, because if you don't do it now, it'll probably spoil the look of the card later on. So go back and just burnish all those fold lines like so, okay. So you can see here, if I'd have gone across the middle, if I just lift it up, I don't know whether it'll stay in focus, but if I'd have gone across the middle of this piece of card, all of this wouldn't fit right. It would just totally fray, and it would spoil the look of the card, okay. So I'm not really paying attention to many of your comments. I'm not sure it's still available, Snuffy Sue, because it was an HSN exclusive, I think, or it was a USA exclusive, and I'm not sure whether it's still available, and I'm not sure whether it will come to the UK because it was an exclusive for the USA. But never say never, and don't quote me on it because I really don't know. Hi, Dorothy. Okay, so we've got our base card here, all right. Now what I am going to do, so I'm just going to take a pencil, because this bit's important. You want all your pieces to sit in the right direction when you put them down, okay. So I'm just going to put a little arrow here, because this is the way my card is going. I'm going to fold that up, I'm going to put a little arrow there, and a little arrow there, okay. And then, just because I'm showing you live, I'm just going to write on here that this is the base, okay, and a little arrow to show me that I need it this way up, okay. So then we come to these 5 pieces here. These are your mat and layers. Now when I did the original, I'm hoping this is going to work today because I've changed it up slightly, okay. When I did this original, I measured my card that goes on top of each of these triangles. You can see there's a piece of card sitting on each sort of triangular piece. I measured them exactly the same size as that 4 1/4. And for me, I don't think they sat right. So I've measured them 1/8 of an inch smaller today, which is why I've put all the measurements on the screen, okay. I'm hoping it's going to sit right, because when I opened this out, I don't think this bit sits right. Because it does that, I think that's because all those pieces of card are sort of touching each other. Are you with me? So by making it slightly smaller, I'm hoping that it sits better today, okay. she said, with her fingers crossed behind her back. Right, so I've got 5 pieces of, what did I say? 4 1/8. Yeah, 5 pieces, 4 1/8 square, and 4 pieces of white cardstock, 4 inches square. Okay, so these pieces are what I'm going to do my stenciling on. Okay, so I'm going to do my stenciling first, and then we're going to put the card together once all the stenciling is done, hopefully. So I'll get my magnetic mat and my Ultimate 2, and I'm using the magnetic mat because I'm not using the pegs on the Ultimate 2. I'm actually using the peg markings on the magnetic mat. But I want to use my tacky mat on top because my card is not going to be sort of held down by anything. So that's why I've put the tacky mat on the top of the magnetic mat. Okay. I mean, it's not a Lisa trimmer, Evelyn. So don't think it's one that Lisa's done, because it isn't. Hi, Jill. Right, okay. So we're going to do, I think we'll do the budding stem first, and we'll save the summer roses till last. So you can see I've already done 1 because I didn't want to be stenciling 3 lots. I'm doing 2 lots as it is. So I've done sort of a little part of the budding stem just on one side of the card. Okay, so I'm going to do one of the others, and I'm going to line my stencil up on those peg markings. Just need to be a little bit over the top of it so that I can line it up properly, and then I'm going to place my card where I want this budding stem to appear. Okay, so I think it was about there that I did the other. It's probably like that. So I've gone off the edge with the leaf, so I'm not going to go quite as far off the edge with this one. All right, so this isn't going to move because it's on my tacky mat, and this isn't going to move because that's also on my tacky mat, but I'm lining it up with those peg markings on here. Okay, win. So let's do the stenciling for this, and I'm going to start here. So this is like, you know, the bud of the new rose that's come in, and I'm going to go in there with juicy pineapple. Let me take those measurements off there and put you the colours up that I'm using. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to start with juicy pineapple. Might look a little bit orange because I think I've got a little bit of orange ink on my brush, but never mind. And you'll see the reason why I've got orange ink on my brush when I show you what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to just come to the bottom of here and just add a little bit of orange into the bottom, just for a little bit of shading, because it's actually sort of more a yellowy orange rose. So I just wanted it to look a little bit different. I didn't want it to be one solid colour. So I'm just going to come back with that yellow and just blend that in a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to come here and we're going to do the leaves. Now, you know I like margarita as a colour, but I feel for roses, margarita's a little bit too limey. Oh, it's still at ecstasy, is it, Bonnie? Thank you for that. Yeah, and you don't have to use this particular set. You can use any set that you've got sort of a larger piece that you want to cut down. I'll explain more when I get to that bit, but you don't have to use this set. You can use any set that you've got that will work in the same way. Okay, so I'm coming in with Woodland Moss, and I'm just inking through those apertures. I'm using Lisa's Super Smooth card. Be careful when you're doing your inking, because you don't want to come over the edge of here, because otherwise you'll end up with a dirty great mark. Ask me how I know. Did one earlier. Can you see? Got a line down here and a line across here because I wasn't paying attention, so I had to do another one. So don't do what I do. do what I tell you and you won't go far wrong. Hopefully. Right, so I've put my woodland moss, and before I take that off, I am going to come in with a little bit of garden sage and just put a little bit of shading into those leaves. So it's not much, it's just a small amount, just to add a little bit of sort of shade, light and shade to the leaves. And you'll appreciate this sort of thing at the end when you sort of see the finished item, if you like. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to peel this off. I'm just going to keep my finger on my piece of card. I don't anticipate it moving, but just in case, because I don't want it to move. Okay, so that's number one. I come in with number two, and I'm going to line it up again on those peg markings, and again just be slightly over the top. So if you can see the top of my head, I apologise, but it's slightly over the top, and then you can come in and do actually off. I mean, this tacky mat is brilliant, but you do need to be a little bit more accurate because it won't move, but because your mylar sticks to your tacky mat really well, you just need to be a little bit more precise. Okay, so again, I'm coming back in there with woodland moss and just going through those apertures. I am going to leave this one on here because I don't really think it will look right without that, and it leads people to realise that there is more to this than actually you can see on this card. Okay, so that's number two. Dead quick stencils in this set, and we're just going to pop this down here again, line up on those peg markings and that down there, and you can see it's in the perfect position because you can't really see any white other than that tiny weeny bit there. So I'm going in here with garden sage because I want these veins to stand out. Okay, and if I go in with woodland moss, they won't. So I'm going to go in here with that garden sage. It's a beautiful colour, really earthy green. And you can be as heavy or as light as you want. It depends what look you want on your finished card. Okay, so that's that one done. Okay, so you can see that this one's a little bit darker. I mean, this one has dried out a little bit, so as these inks dry, this may fade a little bit, but I'm really quite happy with that. So one will go that way on my card, one will go that way, so that when they open out, they look right, she said, hopefully. Right, so just before I do the rose, the big summer rose, when I did the off the vintage roses, like I said to you, I know a lot of aren't good with colouring or don't feel comfortable with colouring. So this was just a way of showing you how to just add a little bit of colour without colouring the rose in. Okay, so I'm using my blending inks, and again I'm going with the same colours that I've used already and the same colours that I will use on the front, and I'm just inking up that rose with the early sunrise, and then I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to go on here with woodland moss. I think I used garden sage on the original, but maybe that is a little bit too dark, and I think that's why I changed my mind and decided to use the budding stem, because I thought the vintage off the edge roses on the other card sort of was a bit overpowering, bit too obvious, bit too big. But you know, whatever floats your boat. So then you just place it down on your card. I would go slightly off the edge because, as you can see, there's not really an edge to this stamp. So I don't want any white on the edge here. So I'm going to go slightly off the edge and then just stamp this down. And you'll notice that I use the blending inks to ink up my stamp because they stamp beautifully. Yeah, it does, Evelyn. It's a beautiful little set, and it comes with a die as well. So I'm going to just show you. I'll put it. So you get the 3 stencils, but you also get a die in here to cut it out with if you want to. I don't think it's still available. I haven't actually checked, but the QR code is there for the website if you wanted to have a look. Okay, so then just lift that off. You've got your coloured image without colouring it in, and I honestly don't think you need to, because it really, no worries, Linda. I don't think you need to colour it in, because that is enough for me. I think that looks perfectly okay. So if I show you the one I did yesterday, and yeah, I did use garden sage. I think the woodland moss looks better. The garden sage is a little bit dark for me, but the woodland moss is a perfect colour. I mean, if you wanted to, you could go in and add a little bit of colour with pencils or markers, you know, if you're feeling brave enough. But I know a lot of people don't like colouring in, so that was just a way of getting colour without actually having to go and colour them in. So then let's come to our summer roses. So there are 7 stencils on here, but I don't want to use all of the stencil set. I don't want to use the whole lot, okay? I just want to use the part that's going to fit on here. So I just want to use this main flower and a couple of the leaves, okay? You'll see on here that I actually left these in. I'm not going to put them in on today's card, because for me, these belong to this, and I only want to use this. So I'm just using this stem here and these leaves, okay? Just so that I'm explaining the difference between what I did yesterday and what I've done today, all right? So I'm going to sight this where I think it's going to look right. I think I'm going to go a little bit nearer the top. So I want it sort of central in that piece of card, and then I'm just going to line my, going to have to shut the window, bear with, it's blowing my card everywhere. Right, so I'm just going to line this up on here with those peg outlines, and then I'm going to leave that piece of card in there where I think it looks about right, but square. Okay, now obviously when I get to this bit, I don't want to do any of this here, so I used the embossing folder. I cut a piece of the masking tape and I popped it into the embossing folder sort of at the top of this flower. So if I show you what I mean. So take the embossing folder, put my piece of masking tape in across here and run it through my die cutting machine. Okay, so obviously my piece of masking paper was sort of this length, okay, just to cover the top of this flower. And then, as I've said to you before, the embossing on these folders is so deep that it gives you a perfect line to cut out the piece that you're looking for to protect this part of your card. Okay, so if I peel the backing off here, and it does come off really easily, so I'm going to put this onto the card underneath. All right, so I'm going to have to take this off again, because what I want is, I want to line this up with that stencil. Now it's not going to line up exactly, because obviously there's a sort of a little 1mm border all the way around, but you just want sort of an outline so that you're not so that you're not colouring this bit in. Okay, so I want to put that down there. I'm going to line it up on my pegs in a second. So I'm going to pop that down there like so, and then my piece of masking tape will stick to my card. Okay, it's also going to help my card stick to my tacky mat, not that that would be a problem, it won't. So I'm going to pop this back on the back, on the front rather, and then I'm going to pop this back, line it up with my pegs here. Okay, so I've got my mask here where I'm not going to get any ink on my piece of card, but I've got my flower in the middle where I want it, and then I can go and happily know that when I come to do the inking, I'm not going to go and spoil it. So we're going to start with number 1, and you can see that I've masked off those little stems. Like I said, I wasn't going to put those on, so I'm just going to lay this down here, line this up again with those peg markings, and then we're just going to ink this bit here, because you can see when you look through the apertures that are still on here, there is masking paper behind it, so you're not going to need to do those bits. Okay, so I used on here burnt ochre just for it to look a little bit different, but I did add a little bit of garden sage as well to take the yellowness off the burnt ochre, but I didn't want to do the stems totally green. So did I use woodland moss? I'll use woodland moss, so it's a little bit more gentle. So I'm going to go in here with my woodland moss just to take off some of that yellowness of that burnt ochre, but still leave some there so that you can still see it. So I'm going to lift that gently so that I'm not moving this piece of card. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, I might not need every stencil, I might not need to use every stencil, but you won't know till you actually come to put them down. Okay, so you can see here there is a little bit of leaf, so I'm going to come in here with woodland moss, and again I'm going to add a little bit of garden sage just where the flower would sort of overhang that leaf, just to give it a little bit of shade. Okay, and if you don't want it to sort of, you can always come back and take the shading back a little bit with your original colour. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, you can see again we've got leaves here. Now on here you can see that I've got a leaf here that I don't want to use, and that's covered over with masking, but here I have got a leaf that I do want to use, because I feel that this one, did I use that one? Do you know what? I wasn't going to use that one. I'm not going to use that one. I didn't on here, did I? Nope. I've cut that bit off, and I shouldn't have done it. I should have I should have cut that into the piece that I've used to mask off. So that's why I've kept this by me, so that I'm just double checking. So I'm not going to do this bit, but I am going to do these 2 bits down here. Okay, so again, don't do what I do, do what do what you should do. So again, I'm coming in with that woodland moss, reasonably heavy, because I do think rose leaves are quite dark, aren't they? So just add my ink down here. I'm not worried about it going on my tacky mat. Yes, it might stain it a little bit, but it's not going to affect the use at all. So again, I'm going to come in with a little bit of garden sage, just to give that little bit of shadow. Oops. Just where that sort of flower is going to overhang those leaves. Okay. As much or as little as you want, to be fair. I'll lift that off. I'm coming to number 4. Now this was the one I used to make my mask. to sort of put my mask down. So I need to make sure that this is going to sit in exactly the right place, which it will, because I'm going to line it up beautifully. Okay, so now I'm doing the flower. Okay, I'm going to start with a yellow base. So I'm going to start with Juicy Pineapple, and I'm going to use my Wonder Brush here, purely and simply because I think it gives me a quicker coverage and a softer coverage. Let me put that up here, and then it's not going to move. And I'm going to start reasonably soft. I might go in and add some more around the edges, which I think is what I did on the original. But, you know, your colour choices, or colours actually, and sort of go for pinks and whatever. And then I thought, well, no, that's not really fair, is it? Because you won't see how I did the colours that I achieved on the original. So I decided to stick with the original colours. So I am going to fill the middle in, but only lightly, because the middle for me is going to be more orange. Okay, now I've just realised that I didn't reach a colour out that I said I was going to use. So I'll just reach that one out. That's the red grapefruit at the bottom of that list. So before I take this off, I am going to go back in with a stencil brush and just add a little bit of colour around the edges. So I've got most of my base colour in, but I just want to go on the edges a little bit. And you can see that where my masking paper is, I'm not going to get any ink where I don't want it. And it's really easy to achieve because you just use the embossing folder and cut your piece accordingly. Okay, so let's take number 4 off gently so that we don't move our piece of card. And then we're going to come in with number 5. And again, I'm going to go yellow here, but this is going to be I'm going to go yellow on the outsides, but when I come to the middle, I'm going to go orange. Okay, so I'm going to use Early Sunrise in the middle. So again, I'm coming in with that yellow. It's a beautiful colour, this Juicy Pineapple. I do like Pina Colada, but for this particular card, Pina Colada isn't quite deep enough. It's a softer yellow than the Juicy Pineapple. And for me, this needed bold colours, so I wanted to go in with this Juicy Pineapple because it's a lot more of an intense colour. Okay, so you'll see that I haven't done the middle because I'm going to go in on the middle with the Early Sunrise. Okay, I'm going to start in the middle and just work my way out, and I will re-ink as necessary some colour from the middle and working my way out. And then what I will do is just go back in with the yellow just to soften where the blend is. Okay, so I'll do the orange in the middle and then just go back in and soften that blend so that it doesn't look sort of like a really solid line of colour. Okay, so if I lift that off gently, I like that, looking nice. So then we're going to come in on the veins of the flower. Okay, now on here, on the original, I used Early Sunrise. I'm going to use Early Sunrise on most of it, but I might actually add in a little bit of red grapefruit right on that centerpiece, because if you look at the original artwork, this centerpiece here is really quite dark. And when I did the original, I did go in really heavy with the Early Sunrise, but for me it doesn't really stand out. So if I lift it up a little bit, you can see that this is dark, but it's not dark enough for my liking anyway. You might be happy with, you know, whatever you achieve. It's totally personal choice. It's up to you. So I'm just going to go in here with this red grapefruit because it is quite a lot darker than that early sunrise. I might actually just start the edges of these veins with that red grapefruit and then come into early sunrise rather than just do it all in the orange. So I'm going to come in this way with that orange, and that is going to blend beautifully with that red grapefruit, hopefully. Okay, and then we just need to do the veins on the leaves, and I'm going to use garden sage for that. Oh yeah, that's much better. I'm happier with that than I was with the original. That's much better. So again, just finally the last one, 7 stencils in this set, and like we always say, if you need 7 you'll get 7, if you need 3 you'll get 3, because you know, if it's one thing I can say for Lisa's stencils, the detail on them is amazing. Get that piece of paper out of the way. So I'm coming in with garden sage, and I'm going to go quite heavy because I really do want these to stand out on these leaves. Now be careful when you're doing the veins on these leaves, because these pieces here, they are quite delicate, but if you're careful you should be fine. And then just that last little one over here. I think that's about right. I'll just double check. That'll do. Perfect. Like that a lot. Now then, when I did my original, I'm just going to peel this off gently. Just take your time, don't pull it like I've just done. It will peel off beautifully, just don't yank at it. Just peel it back gently and it will come off beautifully. Now when I did this one yesterday, after I'd done my inking, I got a line down here where there was ink, and I thought, that's a crying shame. Those weren't the words I used, trust me. But I thought, well, I don't really want to throw it away after I've just sat and stenciled all that. So I did a border all the way around the edge, and I'm going to show you how I did it, just so that you can see if you do go over, it really isn't going to make any difference, because you can always hide ink around the edges, and this was how I did it. So I just put a piece of card down and I inked that edge, and I went quite dark so that if there was any sort of inking, any stencil work underneath it, you couldn't see it. Okay, and I went all the way around in exactly the same way. It's only the smallest border, but I actually think, having done it, because I had to hide the little faux pas that I made, it actually really set off all that stenciling. And when I finish and hold it up, I think you will agree that it sort of gives it a nice finishing touch. And the ink will wipe off my tacky mat. I might even wash it today. I don't wash it every day. I usually just wipe it with a wet cloth that's got no fibres in, and leave it to air dry. Always leave it to air dry, and that way the tacky will come back beautifully. Okay. Hi, is that Claire? That Lisa Horton Craft, is that Claire? Can't be Lisa. Right, so just put that out of the way. Take that out of the way. See how that just sort of finishes off that little piece of artwork that you've done. And using that red grapefruit in the middle there has really just set the middle of that flower off beautifully. And I prefer it without this stalk down here, because this stalk is for this flower. The other stalk, it wasn't needed, and I didn't click at the time. So I'm happy with that. I like that. Okay, so let's move this and let's put the card together. Hi Josephine. Don't worry. You just put a sign on the front door that says, I'm not in, I'm busy, go away, come back. Whoops, got ink all over my mat now. Right, let's just put those out of the way. Get rid of that little bit of ink that I've just dropped all over me. My non-stick, non-slip messy mat. Put that away. And my brushes. Because I don't want to get ink everywhere, do I? Right. Spray bottle. Oops. Sorry. Spray bottle. What's that? I hate getting my messy mat messy. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm a bit of a tidy freak like that. So let's put the card together. So you know where we're headed. That's where we're headed. So I've got my 2 pieces with my roses on. I've got a spare piece that I'm going to put my sentiment on. And these are my mats and layers. Okay, so let's layer up everything first, and then we can just go along and put the card together. I'm really happy with that. I prefer this one to the one I did yesterday. I really like this. You can see I've got ink on the back here where it was on my tacky mat, but you're not going to see that, so it won't matter. Okay, you can use whatever adhesive you want. I always use Lisa's glue because the tape's nice and it's quick, but tape does tend to dry out over time, and you don't want your card falling, do you? So I'm going to put all these down, and this is all done flat. There's no sort of 3D on here, because although it folds to a small card, it probably will need either a padded envelope or a box, because it's got quite a lot of depth to it. I'll show you in a second when I've just done these. And the beauty of the wet glue, of course, is you do have a little bit of wiggle room to move it about and line it up properly. So just add this last one down here. What am I doing here? No, that's right. I thought I'd done 2 roses already. Okay. I only ever do these by eye. I never measure them. So I've got a spare piece there, and then this piece is where my sentiment is going to go in a second. Oh, Connie, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope he goes on all right. I've met Connie's dog. He's lovely. He's a big softie. Right, let's put this on here, and then we can go to putting the card together in a second. And it is really quite easy. You've just got to be aware of direction, really. Okay, so just put that to one side for the moment. Right, now we can either do it base first, front first. It doesn't really matter. And you can put it, if you want to open it out and put these down flat, you can do. And this is the beauty of where these little arrows will come in. Okay, so if I put it down like this, then we'll work it out together. So the front is going to be this piece. Okay, let me just double check which way it's going to be. That's the top. Okay, so now you can see that my matted and layered piece is going to sit slightly inside this base piece. Okay, and that's why I chose a contrasting card colour, so that you could actually see all the mats and layers. All right, so I'm going to put this one on like this, and then we'll do the others with the card flat. So again, I'm using wet glue, but don't go right to the edge with your glue, because obviously wet glue oozes. But what I am going to do is I'm going to be quite generous in the centre. So this is going sort of on here and leaving that sort of 1/8 of an inch border. Okay, so you can see that I've got an 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Okay, because I can use the bottom layer, the base layer, as my marker for centering that. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure on there, just so that it sticks down like so. And I'm hoping that when I open it out, it's going to sit better than this one. So that's the front. I'll do each panel individually rather than opening it out, because I think it will probably be easier, makes sense more. So I'm going to put these in different directions, okay, because when it's opened out, I want this one to sit that way, and I want the other one to sit that way. Okay, so that you've got a different direction with your flowers each time. Okay, and I think it will sit better when you've added these down. I'm going to leave it open. So I'm going to put my glue here, and you'll remember where to put your glue. Your glue goes on the part where you drew the little arrow. Okay, don't put your glue on here and forget, because if you stick it all the way down, it won't open. And you don't want to do that, because, well, you've spent ages doing everything else. So again, I'm just going to line that up so that it sits just inside, and I've got that 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and then just put an extra little bit of pressure on this bit. Obviously make sure your ink is dry before you do all that, because the last thing you want to do is start and rub all that and the ink move. So again, ink down here. Don't go right to the edge. I'm a bit near the edge there, but be a little bit more generous in the middle, so that you've given this a bit more support. And again, just place that down with that 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, like so. I've got a little bit of glue ooze there, but never mind. And then this is your base. So your base can go down completely flat, and you can put your glue on the back of here, because this is going to be completely flat. Okay, so this isn't going to sort of mess anything up. I'm going to put this down here, and again you'll have that little border all the way around. I think this one looks far better for leaving that sort of 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. I think this one looks far smarter than that one, and it does actually sit flat as well. Now you'll remember that we did score lines, so on the back here, this is you're gonna see this. So this was where this extra piece comes in, and I'm just going to pop that on there again with a small border. If you wanted to put a piece of white card on here so that you can write something on it, you can, but I still think there'll be plenty of room where I'm going to put the sentiment for you to write something on there. It's totally, that's personal choice. You can do whichever. So I'm going to pop that on there again with that small 1/8 of an inch border, just to set it off. But now of course you can't see that crease line. Okay, so then when you fold it up, it will actually stand up, as I said, Okay, so let's put our sentiment down. Now, as I say, I used that Special Wishes die set, and I've cut it in the colours that are going to match my card. I've cut one in the orange, like this, and I've cut one in black so that this sort of stands out a little bit, just to give it that little drop shadow. And then we're just going to add a little bit of glue on here and glue this down. And then the one thing that I've used that I didn't put, well, a couple of things I've used that I didn't put on the list because they were sort of a last minute afterthought. I've used some gems on the front, and I've also used a sentiment on the front as well, because I haven't got a sentiment on the front of that one. So this is going here, right in the middle. Try and get it central-ish. Birthday wishes, quite like that. And then I thought I used the beautiful butterflies, these. I've used the very tiniest butterfly here, and I've stenciled it, die cut it, embossed it, just to sort of sit it on here really. And again, I shall do it flat because you will see that when I hold this up in a second, you'll see that there's actually quite a lot of depth to it. So although all the layers are flat, it will probably still need a box. So that's that. And then I just need to add my gems to the front. So I changed where I'm going to put these slightly. And again, odd number, because apparently that's the way to do it. Something to do with the aesthetics, I don't know. Where's my, oh, there it is. Put it the right way, Dawn, it works, doesn't it? Flipping heck. Where's me? It flipped over in the little pot. Don't tip your gems out onto your tacky mat, because it takes ages to get them off your tacky mat afterwards. I don't know what I was thinking of. Okay, so there's no sentiment on this one, but I thought it needed a bit of a sentiment for me. I just thought it just needed something. So because I've used birthday wishes inside, I've just used sending love to go on the front. So maybe I should have put this down before I put my gems on, but I can get round it, hopefully. You can't get your mess, I know. It's like, no. And I think it's because it's textured and the ink will sort of sit within those textures like it does on texture card. I can't get it 100% clean and it drives me insane. So I think this is about the third messy mat I've had. I'm not fussy at all, honestly. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on here. And as I say, this is from the Tatty Words. Another beautiful, beautiful die set. Come on. I'm going to pop that down there, like so. Making sure it's straight drawn. It's pretty straight. There you go. So there's two there. I prefer this one and it sits better. It doesn't pop up quite as much as this one does. I prefer this one. So I would go with that smaller matten layer because I just think it helps, because then you haven't got any extra card meeting in the middle. See, it doesn't even sit right down here, and that's because the card that I've put on top is the same size, so it sort of it's taking away the manoeuvrability of the card. I'm sure you know what I mean. So there's your fun fold pop out fan card. I think that's dead clever. I like that. I'm really pleased with that. But you can use whatever you want. Bonnie mentioned the Blooming Marvellous die set and layering stencils. I think that would work equally as well. Or probably the Peony Rose, because that's got a peony and a rose, so you could just take the peony. But just have a look through your stash and see which ones. You can add whatever you want on here. This would make a great baby card or a baby shower card or something like that. You know, that the sky's the limit, really, and you're only limited by your own imagination. So, you know, go for it. And like I said, it does stand up. So after doing all that work, you want to be able to stand it up, and it will stand up. It will, honest. It will stand up. It might fall down eventually, but it will stand up. So, you know, give it a go. It's so much fun. And it's just nice to use your stencils in a completely different way. So, you know, don't be limited by looking at the picture and thinking, oh, I've got to do the whole lot, because you haven't. In fact, you could even just use that bit. You know, that bit on a card would look super, because you can take off the flowers completely and just use that stem. That sort of a little bud there. I think that'd look cracking on it on a small card. That'd look beautiful. So, you know, look at them and then look at them again and see how you can manipulate them or use them slightly different, and you will get twice as much life out of something that's going to last you forever anyway. So I will love you and leave you there. Not with you next week. I'm having a week off next week. I want to spend some time with my grandchildren and some time in the garden to try and make it look like a garden instead of the sun. So I will be back with you a week on Monday. Claire will be with you Tuesday and Thursday. And of course, Lisa will be back next Friday. Not this Friday, so no live tomorrow, because she will be travelling. She doesn't get back till really late tomorrow, and she will be exhausted. So no live tomorrow, next Friday. Okay, so I love you and leave you. Have a fabulous weekend, and I'll see you a week on Monday. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye now.